Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Zero. This is their part number 2070A-IM. This is an inside mount flood barrier shield with channels for doors, is what this is used for. And flood barrier shields have become, along with the concern of the environment and flooding, flood barrier shields have increased in popularity, I suppose, or at least acknowledgement in the marketplace and requests for them. I'm going to open this box up. We're going to take a look at the contents of the box. So let's do that now. This is a relatively smaller size. This is I believe it's a 16-inch tall model. No, it's a 20-inch tall model, 16-inch wide. A number of fasteners here, which we're going to get to. These are your tracks and your channels. These are very typical items. It's not unheard of for us to have requests from people to purchase these as separate standalone products. I have found that people simply want to repurpose their flood barrier shield. So this is going to be a 16-inch wide, 20-inch tall is what this one is. Okay. Large, thick piece of aluminum that's here. And of course the other channel. And these are going to be handed pieces of equipment because that neoprene will need to be on the correct side of the unit. And you've got fasteners, of course. So just flipping it over. Actually, no, non-handed. It would just be something that you could just simply flip over. Okay, great. So let's take a look at the extended description information down below. Generic overview of what the item is. As you start looking at the information, flood barrier shield and channels for doors. This would be called an inside mount, and we're going to review exactly what that means. There's an inside mount and an outside mount. And it's basically going to have everything to do with, does your door swing in or out? Your flood barrier channel won't be able to reside in the same location as, of course, your door, and that will begin to illustrate the difference. Made of aluminum, 1/4 inch thick is the flood barrier shield, 2 vertical tracks with rubber seals, and all of the knobs come with the shield. A door saddle is optional, depending upon the floor surface. You're going to have a piece of modified I would think that this should be closed cell neoprene, but I think it's open cell neoprene. No, it must be closed cell neoprene. Like a wetsuit. It must be, it couldn't be sponge type, otherwise that would certainly not be very water resistant. A door saddle is optional. You're going to need to be able to seal that against, of course, something. So whatever the proper situation would be for your application, be mindful of that. Okay. For door openings over 4 foot, it is recommended to use a post in the center of the shield. These posts can help minimize the hydrostatic deflection experienced on a wide plate. So when you're doing openings that are that wide, the factory is going to quote them, review them, and then advise you as to how to proceed with that type of application. The extended description does go on to state that the sleeves, the channels can be ordered separately. The removable barrier shield answers pleas from builders for help in protecting doors and building contents from water ingress in flood-prone areas. So basically what happens is, these two handles, that's how you're going to be able to remove this, of course, when there's no concern over flooding. The shields are not designed to seal 100%. They're not waterproof. The idea is to stop excessive water flow. into the house or garage, and to prevent that catastrophic level of possible water damage, the lightweight aluminum shield requires no tools or muscle strength for insertion into the pre-mounted vertical channels attached to either the door frame or the adjacent walls. The shields are made of marine-grade aluminum to resist rust. This is the same aluminum they say they use in submarines. Additional shield sections can be stacked if greater height is needed. Use H-bracket for stackable option. Obviously, if you're going to get beyond, there will be an H-bar that will mount into your channels. The unit complies with guidelines of the Federal Emergency Management Agency and Federal Insurance Administration for use on doors in flood-prone areas. The key to the shield's impermeability is the use of closed-cell neoprene rubber engineered by Zero to ensure a watertight seal. The rubber lines the aluminum channel brackets and the bottom of the shield. The rubber lines the aluminum channel brackets and the bottom of the shield. So what that means is you've got closed-cell neoprene in here on both of your channels, as well as the bottom of the shield, as we've indicated earlier. Standard heights 10, 20, 24, 30, 36, and 42 inch. Custom sizes are available upon request. Please contact sales for more information. I do find that they will quote the material. So requests for custom sizes, please be sure to forward those to us. Zero International has a warranty and a guarantee for 3 years. If the shield is stored inside, you should have limited problems with the neoprene. The neoprene in the brackets, however, should be replaced when they are damaged. This can clearly vary based on temperature, climate, weather damage, and some areas may be worse than others. So you can purchase everything separately. This neoprene can be purchased. The channels, the mounting, the thumb turns that are here, okay? The shield itself, it can all be ordered as standalone products. Now, there are several links to down below this video, but before we get to that, there are a couple of factory original images that just show what those look like in typical installed areas. Okay. Then there is a review of what your outside mount looks like along with your inside mount. So basically, as you review the inside and outside mount, which we will go over when we get to the product catalog, you'll be able to understand is what is the order size. What they're going to manufacture everything based on the order size, which is dependent on your method of mounting. You do see an image from the manufacturer down below of what the channels look like when they're in place, and there's no concern for flooding at that moment, and the shields are, of course, not in place. And then there's a video from the manufacturer down below showing an installation overview of the product, as well as a reference to using it as it's shown in the photograph, not only in front of your doors, but in front of your side lights as well. So let's pick this video up with a review of the linked documents down below, and we'll go over all of the details of this, and we will talk about installation, and we'll do a little closer visual review as well of the components in the packaging. Okay, now let's continue on with reviewing the links down below this video, and we have 4 of them here. Case studies will be a document that we won't review here. However, I would, of course, recommend that you review the information. Okay, for some actual application information. Pressure data will be the same. We won't review that here. This would be important for someone who is looking to understand the specifications behind it and apply that information based on hydrostatic force at the center of the plate accordingly. The manufacturer provides it, so we list it here. Then FAQs, again, another document that would be handy to review. This is I think, the most important portion. Do you need a professional installer? You don't. We're going to look at the bolt package that comes with this shortly. And there is nothing that is, in my opinion, outside of a standard level of typical difficulty with this. You know, once you unpackage everything and make sure that you have everything necessary to complete the job, meaning you've reviewed all the parts and everything makes sense where it all goes, I don't think a professional installer is necessary at all. I think this opens up to, you know, anyone having the benefit of protection of this product. Okay, so the 3 bottom links here can be for your reference. Now, for us, product brochure is going to be the handy document because this really details exactly how it is that we're going to go about installing this material. As it's shown here, the first question that comes up when someone wants a flood shield, okay, are we talking about an inside mount or are we talking about an outside mount? I had said earlier it has everything to do with how your door swings. Well, in this instance, you know, you have, let's just imagine that this is, I had said earlier it has everything to do with how your door swings. So if you imagine that this is an in-swinging door, this door is going to swing in, you'll mount this on the exterior where you would want the flood protection. Okay? You can have the same scenario where your door swings out and there's nowhere there to install it. Now, I might be very prone to considering exactly how we're going to go about installing this, but this would be a typical application where you have an outside mount. So an outside mount can still be for an in-swing door, but it's just going to be a matter of, are you installing it to the outside of the frame or to the inside of the frame? And that's the most important aspect to begin with. Now, an important note to take here is that they have a threshold installed. Okay, so when you're thinking about a flood barrier shield, also take into consideration what is that neoprene that is wrapping the bottom edge of the aluminum plate itself. What's that going to sit on top of? I would think that having it sit on top of a surface like a threshold would be advantageous compared to one that would be just a sill or some unfinished type of floor surface. So you want to have some sort of proper sill that's there. This document shows the threshold. This document also shows thumb screws, and this document is a little bit older. Actually, this is an older document of the 2070. A more modern document that's linked to down below here as well, or at least it will be by the time you see this video. Still has a threshold, but it shows thumb screws. Wing bolts. Wing bolts is what I would call these, and that is the design that comes with these, or winged thumb screws, and they're going to allow you to compress that plate right against the insert of the neoprene that's right there. That's what's going to give you your seal. There's the side seal, there's the bottom seal. Okay. And back to some discussion on the inside or outside mount. Generally, what I have discussed with clients is where does it best suit to install some material. So the outside mount could literally be, we could take this preparation here and we can move it to the, if this is the exterior, we can move it here to the exterior. I don't see any problem with that. The issue with moving it to the exterior is what sort of floor treatment is in front of your door. Can you run a continuous threshold on the outside here to give your bottom seal something positive to sit against? Okay, I would personally not want to have my flood shield on the inside of the frame. Okay, I would want my line of defense on the exterior. And I would even go so far as to say, you know, I would prefer to have a line of defense out here. However, this is also taking into account where is the threshold installed. Do you have something, again, to seat the bottom plate to? Okay, so that would be that's in addition to taking into consideration where you're going to install the material. Also take into consideration onto what are you going to install the material, and allow that along with where do I want my primary line of defense. All three of those aspects to come into play. Here's a much better look at the thumb screws, and we're going to review those in just a moment, and this is exactly what they look like today. So this is getting into a very simple, straightforward perspective of, hey, this is what it looks like when it's installed. The situation that you see in the newer document with this, actually in the older document, here, I like this concept, but in the newer document, they put a twist on it. And I like the idea that they're showing the channels run to the inside face, and then this neoprene seal is going to sit right on the inside ledge of that. Now, I like that a lot. Be mindful when you are installing your threshold that you've got some room there for this rubber seal to sit, because that plate is going to sit against the inside neoprene, and you'll need to make sure that when you slide this down, you've got room for this U-shape portion here to get snug up and closer over to here, is what I'm trying to say. I would want to bring this face just right to here where possible. I'd want that seal to be at the floor. Okay. Now let's take a look at the physical mounting packages again. Now the last thing for us to do here is to go over the screw package that's with this material. The screw package that they send is going to accommodate either an inside mount or an outside mount. If you're doing an inside mount, you will need 3 of these 4 pieces. If you're doing an outside mount, you'll need all 4. These are the 3 pieces you'll need for an inside mount, and that's the 4th piece that you will need for an inside mount. You need the 3 pieces. If you're doing an outside mount, you'll need these 3 and this cap. So what happens is, because this is an IM or inside mount, it's being attached through the channel itself, and that is, of course, going to explain the plastic anchor and this fastener. Now, you know, I personally wouldn't install a flood barrier shield with a plastic anchor. I would be looking for something absolutely more robust. The thumb screw, obviously, is when you slide the channel in, and that's what's going to keep your aluminum plate tight against the inserted seal. Okay? If this was an outside mount, you're going to have an extra hole all the way down. That's because you need to get the screws put in. There's a hole right through this channel so that you can get your screwdriver in and run the screw in. That's the cap that's going to cover that up when you look at the outside mount channels. And let's take a closer look at those outside mount channels now. Now we were looking at the, although this unit, the IM, shows, you know, the channel with these, well, it shows a hole here and here and here. And the outside mount is basically the same generic image that we were dealing with. And I don't think the product data really differentiates. It doesn't really well. It doesn't show us how that cap is inserted. But nonetheless, the drawing really doesn't change at all, whether you are outside mounting it or you are inside mounting it. But the bottom line is, they do show it here. You'll have this hole on an outside mount. To gain access to the head of that screw, that's where that little white plastic cap is going to insert. Okay, right there. Whereas, now they don't show a cross section of an inside mount, but those fasteners will be used in all instances, but the caps will only be used in outside mount. So let's take a further review of our final checkout of this item. Now, in conclusion, you need to order it correctly for what you're doing. These channels are definitely intended to be left in place. I suppose that you could remove them. I don't believe that installation time is going to be too dreadful, but it's like preparing for a hurricane. Doing it all at the last minute can be stressful. You might want to have the channels at least in place. If you really expect flooding to happen, I'm sure those channels are not going to be an inconvenience to have permanently in place. The issue that I don't like is the exposure of the neoprene to the elements. That will not serve the long-term health of the installation. So I might personally look for a way that I could use anchors so that I can remove the channels quickly and easily. And I might consider that some sort of an option, meaning I might want to have some sort of a jack nut, if it's an aluminum storefront, that I can be able to run a thread into and run out of. The trouble is making that watertight. If you have a new installation and you know that you're going to be attaching this material, have it reinforced so you can drill and tap to the material. If it's wood, some sort of a option by which you can remove those screws would be certainly quite important. Using an ever increasingly larger size screw wouldn't be the idea over every deployment. At the end of the day, leaving them in place is what's generally done. At least I've never heard of people removing the channels as well. And you can certainly purchase this neoprene as a standalone product because it is available as a standalone product. Okay, so the cut sheets that are there will allow you to determine exactly what you need to order in terms of the size. Specials are available. I noticed that getting past 36 inch up to 4 foot becomes a engineering special. So be mindful to allow some additional lead time for quoting when we're dealing with sizes of that nature. And there you go. And actually, we had a client that wanted to do a 42 inch wide. And in fact, the factory insisted that we sign a waiver stating that the item was no longer being manufactured in such a way that would allow it to be compliant with the established warranty. So be mindful of that stuff. Reach out to us. We can solve your flood barrier shield problems within warranty constraints. Regardless of the size, we'd be happy to help you. If you have any questions on the Zero, this is their 2070A in an IM derivative, an inside mount, or any other Zero product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.